The mics are hot.
Mics are hot. Mics are hot, yeah.
You need another water.
Probably.
Okay for you?
Was that supposed to be for you?
Do you want?
Because you were supposed to leave after her, right?
Do you want me to move over to?
I think Diane.
No.
Okay.
No, actually, I wanted
I think
one on the
you're
end.
going after Maddie.
I go after you.
You're going after Maddie.
John's gonna take this.
Amanda. I'm
It's
so
okay.
sorry.
We have a lot of M&As.
No, I know, but I'm sorry.
No. Please.
Diana, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Diana, Amanda, got it. Amanda, I think, needs to sit there because she's supposed to follow Amanda.
Okay.
So I'm moving. Okay.
So, Kurt, you just come on.
All right. Switch instead.
Where's which?
I didn't mean to take the water. Here.
Thank you.
Diana. Okay. It's nice to meet you. I was in your Hawley's office.
Okay. I am with the library.
Well, guys, it's about 5 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
5 o'clock somewhere. So it's about 6, and we're going to get started. And I think what we could do to help some of our friends is if there is an empty seat next to you, can you please raise your hand so someone can fill it? Thank you. So if you're standing in the back and you need to find a seat, come grab one next to your friends. There's a good chance you probably went to school together, might have even worked together or been neighbors. So go ahead and we can put them down now unless we all want to wait. I want to thank you guys for being here and thank my mom and my son for being here. Seriously, if you guys could, for me, tell the neighbor sitting next to you, thanks for being here. It's because of butts and seats that made all the difference in the world. And we fought across both sides of the river. It didn't matter what party we were from. And if anyone started to be political, we'd say, let's go rein in your crazy friend. Because that's not what matters. What matters is saving the lives of our friends and family and our neighbors that we care about. I'm so incredibly thankful that Senator Hawley was our champion and ran this across the aisle in 3 years is unbelievable. This has been an 80-year problem. So, yes, and it's Dr. Mopal. I'm going to let her. Well, you guys all know my story. My family touched every area of this. So from St. Louis City, my husband and I grew up in North County. I went to Francis Howell. I swam in the quarry, and I don't know if you were here at the other meeting. I started the other meeting with a slide that said, maybe some of us in Francis Howell kind of knew something was wrong because they said we would glow in the dark. But the slide said we just didn't get it. And it was a picture designed by a 91 graduate of Howell, and it was the approved uniform for the cross-country team, and it had the radiation symbol and the Viking head. He just called me 3 days ago. He has colon cancer, so if you can keep him in mind. That's how this keeps impacting my life and that of my friends. Okay, so here's how we're going to do this. We have to 8 o'clock to get through this. So I'm not going to go through the history because I know right now we just want to know how to fill out these forms, right? Now, we're going to hear some stories. There's going to be like, well, but my sister's from Hawaii and she has a cousin, and that could potentially be something that if I say, hey, you know what, that is probably a one-off, and I promise, and I think you guys know it, I will be the last man standing in this room. If you need me, I will be here. I will give out my personal cell phone. So if we have to say, hey, let's go over a little more general, please know that I still care about your story, and I will be here, and I think people can tell you that's true. Also, I'm State Representative Tricia Byrnes. I don't think I mentioned my name, so thank you for helping me out there. So I'm going to have the county executive come up here, County Executive Steve Ellman, but really quick, I want to have the expert panel introduce themselves. So if you guys could stand up and say who you're here. They're going to help with expertise on the lived, worked, went to school.
I'm Kurt Barr. I'm the Director of Elections for St. Charles County. And if you were a registered voter, you contact our office and we will try to find those records and get those to you.
Hi, I'm Mary Dempsey. I'm the St. Charles County Recorder of Deeds. We would provide you with your land record for when you bought your house, when you sold your house, and then give you a letter verifying that the address does qualify.
I'm Steve Elman, County Executive. I was just going to tell you what these two folks were going to do for you. But I'm here to thank some folks and to wish all of you well and let you know the county is going to do everything we can to help you get these applications filed.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Diana Tucker. I'm the branch manager at Kisker Road Library. Though as of next week, I will be the branch's operations administrator. And the library is here to help you find your resources to fill out your forms. So we'll talk a little bit about that more later.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Molenpaugh. I'm the RECA program manager from Senator Hawley's office. I am currently working out of St. Louis, so I am local and here to help.
Let's give Dr. Molenpaugh a round of applause. And everyone else, I would like to see, would the county executive like to come up on stage?
Well, Tricia, if they don't know you, I know they don't know me. I'm Steve Elman, St. Charles County Executive, and I'm here, have this feeling of deja vu. I was a circuit judge 25 years ago when my predecessor in this job, Joe Ortworth, actually raised this issue then and was able to get a lot of attention. They would do some committees, they did some studies, but then the whole thing just kind of didn't move. Thanks to you and a lot of other people, we got it moving. And I just want to thank you for all you've done on that particular thing. I want to thank Senator Hawley for his leadership and our entire delegation in Washington, D.C. for helping put this thing through. But getting the money is only the first step. Now we need to get that money to the people who deserve it. And as I mentioned earlier, we got some folks from the county that will help all of you get the documentation that you need to show your residency. And we're going to do everything we can to make that as easy as possible for you. And if you ever have any problems, please let me know, because I know our folks and the people who work for them are dedicated to doing everything they can to help you out. Okay?
Thank you very much. If we have any elected officials in the room, could you please stand up and so we can thank you for being here? And I'm sorry, what's your? Okay, we have an alderman here in Weldon Spring. What's your name? Janet Culp. Thank you for being here. And we have State Representative Deanna Self and State Representative Colin Wellenkamp. Thank you very much. Okay, so with that, let's figure out how to get that money that you guys deserved and you helped us advocate for. Thank you. Dr. Molenpaugh?
Too many things to juggle. That's okay. We'll see what we can do.
I'm here if you need anything.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a juggling act up here with the paperwork and the microphone and this. I didn't realize that my skills as a dancer are going to come into play in this role. So anyway, I am delighted to see each and every one of you here tonight, because that means that I'm going to be able to give you information that will hopefully help you or your loved ones. But I also recognize that because you're here, that means that you have a story. And each day, every day, I hear stories like yours, and it's truly heartbreaking, but it's also the most rewarding part of my job, that I get to be a resource for you. And Senator Hawley's entire staff is dedicated to being a resource for you all. RECA as Representative Byrnes indicated, has been Senator Hawley's legislative priority for the past 2 years. But just because the legislation is passed and Missouri is now included in the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act does not mean that this issue is not on the senator's agenda. He still very, very much cares about this. That's why he created my role. He's the only senator that I am aware of across this country, the only congressman who has created a staff position just to assist with this federal program. So we all are really, really blessed and honored to have Senator Hawley as our state senator. So RECA has been around since 1990. This is not a new federal program, but this year, 2025, is the very first time that Missouri has been included in that program. The way the program works is that it comes up for renewal every 2 years. So when you see on the claim forms that there is a deadline of December 31st, 2027, that is how long this iteration of the program will last. But before that deadline, we will be working to consider should the program be renewed. In all likelihood, it should. And then in what way should it be amended or expanded? So every 2 years, the program comes up for renewal, and it has been renewed every single time since 1990. So that is very good news for us here in Missouri. All right. So I'm going to go into, oops, I told you all this is a juggling act. How do I get back to slide this? No. Do we get on, how do we get into presentation mode? I took it out of that. Yes. Double trouble. Okay, great. Oh, sure. All right. They want me to be on camera. I did musical theater, but not film. So before I get into eligibility, there's going to be a lot of information here in these slides. Some of this information is available on our website, which is hawley.senate.gov. We are in the process. I spoke to our communications team earlier today of updating the website and also of developing additional resources for you, which will be available through our website. So please continue to reference that. I'm also going to provide you a bit later on with our RECA hotline number. You are welcome to call that at any point in time. You will either get me or my colleague, and we will be able to work through very particular questions. Okay, so I'm going to try to stay more general this evening, but if you have very particular questions, please utilize our RECA hotline. Also, by the door on your way out, there will be some flyers that the senator has produced that have just some essential information on it, as well as our website and a QR code, if that's easier for you than trying to put all of this in your memory tonight. All right, so first off, we need to talk about eligibility. So there are two factors to consider. One, geographic location, and the other being the diagnosed condition. Okay, there are 21 zip codes that are currently included in RECA for Missouri. These are established based on the quantity of documentation that directly links radioactive waste with the history of that geographic area or one of the compensable diseases. We are very, very aware that there are likely other areas that were impacted, other conditions that are developed because of radioactive waste. but based on the documentation that we had at the time, the scientific evidence, this is what we were able to pass through the legislature. Okay. So the zip codes, the 21 zip codes in St. Charles, there are 4 of them. And you have to have lived or worked or attended school in one of the 21 zip codes for at least 2 years. Those can be consecutive or cumulative 24 months. Okay. You can have moved away from the area since then. That is possible. You just have to be able to show those 2 years worth of residency. We call it residency in general, but that includes work and school. Those 2 years have to have been prior to the diagnosis of a compensable disease. And we will go through that list. The other category of individual who would qualify for compensation would be surviving beneficiaries. So if there was someone who was in one of the impacted zip codes and contracted one of these diseases but has since passed away, and you are the surviving beneficiary, so that might be a spouse or a child, you also are eligible to apply. If you are applying on behalf of yourself, you are eligible for $50,000 or reimbursement for your out-of-pocket medical expenses, whichever is greater. If you are a surviving beneficiary, it's a one-time payment of $25,000 that'll either go to the surviving spouse or divided equally to the surviving children. And here we have the list of the compensable diseases. Okay, there are a few qualifications for these. For Missouri, we are the only part of RECA where any leukemia is considered, provided that it was diagnosed after the age of 20. Also lymphoma, other than Hodgkin's disease, multiple myeloma, several different primary cancers. They do have to be a primary cancer diagnosis. All right, so the process. If you determine that you do meet the eligibility qualifications, this is the general outline of the application process. So you will print. Everything is by mail. Right now, the Department of Justice that administers the program has said that they hope to launch an online submission portal in December of this year. But that's the latest information we've received about that. So as of right now, everything is print, gather your documentation, mail it in to the Department of Justice. So you will need to begin with the Manhattan Project Waste Claim Form. You can download this from our website. It is available from the Department of Justice RECA webpage. And I believe there are also some copies available here tonight. Once you have that claim form, you will begin gathering your documentation, and the library is going to be able to speak to this a little bit more. Essentially, there are 3 categories of documentation. I'll go into those a little bit. Proof of identity, proof of residency, and proof of diagnosis. Once you gather your materials, I suggest that you make a photocopy of the entire package so that you have that for your record. You will need to send all the original documents that you have gathered to the Department of Justice. They will not accept photocopies unless they've been certified, and we'll go into that in just a little bit. So make a copy for your own records, and then as I said, you're going to mail this in to the Department of Justice. The address, the mailing address is on the claim form. I also have it here. It is a P.O. box, but you can send USPS. And of the hundreds of claims that have been sent in or that are currently being processed, I only know of one where there has actually been an issue with mailing the application. So that's very good news. But if you mail it priority, you will have a tracking number, and if you so choose, you can mail it certified and request a signature on the other end. But the Department of Justice considers RECA an essential program. So even during the government shutdown, RECA is fully staffed in the Department of Justice, and they are actively reviewing applications and processing those. So you can be assured that your application will be received. Once your application is received by the Department of Justice and one of their staffers begins actively reviewing your application, you will be contacted by email or by mail, and you will receive a claim number that will be assigned to you. You will use that to track your application. The Department of Justice will also use this to contact you if they have a question about your application or if they need you to amend anything. It is a bit of a dialogical process prior to them reaching their final decision. But once they make a final decision about the application, they will notify you. If your application is successful, they will ask you to authorize payment. And once you authorize payment, typically it's about 6 weeks until payment is issued. The review time for applications can take anywhere from about 3 to 12 months, just to give you a ballpark figure of the timeline that we're talking here. But they are reviewing these applications on a rolling basis. All right, so now I'm going to go into a little bit more of the details for the kinds of documentation that are required, and the library will be able to speak more to how to locate all these different forms of documentation. We're going to begin with proof of identity. So if you are filing on behalf of yourself, if you are the claimant, you will need a certified copy or the original of your birth certificate. And when the Department of Justice talks about original or certified copy, if there is a stamp or a seal from the issuing institution on that document, it is considered an original. If you request a copy, that copy either needs to have a stamp or seal on it, or it needs to be accompanied by a cover letter on letterhead that is signed and dated saying, this institution acknowledges that this is a copy of a record in our possession for such and such a person. And that language is actually in the claim form. The Department of Justice has really put everything that you need in the claim form itself, which is very, very helpful. If your name has changed at any point in time through marriage or divorce, you will need to document that as well. If your name has not changed, then you need your birth certificate. So that's for self-claimants. If you are filing as a surviving beneficiary, you will need those documents for the person who contracted the disease of whom you are the surviving beneficiary. You will also need those documents for yourself, and you will need the death certificate of the individual of whom you are the surviving beneficiary. If there are multiple siblings applying, then that process applies for each sibling, okay? Each person will need to provide the birth certificate, marriage certificates or divorce decrees if there have been any name changes, and if any of the siblings have passed on, also the death certificates for those siblings. And there's a reason for all of it, and it can sometimes seem a little bit confusing, but if you just remember birth certificates, death certificates if applicable, marriage certificates, divorce decrees for name changes, that will guide you. Proof of residency. As I said, you can have lived in one of the impacted zip codes. You can also have worked or attended school in the impacted zip codes, or any of the above. More is not necessarily better for the application. It's just the solidity of the documentation. So what you need to provide in order to demonstrate to the Department of Justice to provide a full picture that you have been in one of those zip codes for 2 full years. That is the kind of documentation you need to provide. This can take many forms. It could be school records, it could be W-2s, it could be pay stubs, it could be property tax receipts, voting records. Any of this is considered a proof of residency. Even if you have envelopes that have a United States stamp on them and they are addressed to you and they are postmarked, that is considered proof of residence. So utility bills would qualify, cable bills would qualify. There's lots of different types of proof of residency that the Department of Justice will work with. And I will say too that I've had the privilege of speaking to many of the institutions that house these records or would partner with you in obtaining these records, both in St. Louis City and across the state. And I am humbled by the partnership and the amount of work that is going into this. So please keep in mind that most everyone is for you as you're working on this application. And if it seems like you've come to an impasse, most likely we're going to find a way around that. Okay. But that's what our hotline is for, is we work through those kinds of particular cases. Proof of diagnosis. So at the end of the claim form, pages 18 through 24, the Department of Justice has compiled a meticulous list of the kinds of medical records that they will accept for every single diagnosis that is eligible under RECA right now. You can take those pages to your provider. You can show them those pages and say, I am in need of one of these kinds of documentation. Can you provide this? Then your provider or the hospital where you were treated, they will need to accompany that with that signed and dated cover letter certifying that that was a record in their possession. And again, that language is on pages 8 and 9 of the application. So you literally can just take the application with you, show your provider pages 8 and 9, 18 through 24, and they will be able to work with you. I have been able to speak, or am going to speak, with most of the hospitals here in the area and starting across the state. And so we are working to smooth out this process for constituents to obtain their medical records. Now, if you are applying as a surviving beneficiary, the long form death certificate of the person who was ill is considered proof of diagnosis, because the long form death certificate oftentimes will list more than just the cause of death. It will also list other conditions present. And so if that cancer is indicated on the long form death certificate and it is the signature of the attending physician is present, the Department of Justice will consider that proof of diagnosis. Now, I know the question is, where in the world do I get the long form death certificate? Those come from the state of Missouri, Missouri Vital Records. They are the only ones who have the long form death certificates. Short form are located in the counties. Long form comes from the state. There may also be this question of the Missouri Cancer Registry, because on the claim form, page 10 and then again on page 14, you will see a place where the Department of Justice requests your permission to contact the cancer registry in your state, in the state of diagnosis. You do not have to do anything here. You do not have to contact the Missouri Cancer Registry. The Department of Justice will do that for you, given that you have granted them the permission. So simply check the box on page 10 and then sign on page 14, okay? And that is in addition to the medical records you provide. It's just an additional way that the Department of Justice can verify the diagnosis and process the claim more quickly. All right, and last but not least, before I pass this off to the library, this is just a very short, abbreviated list of locations for some of the record types that you will need. Again, here at the top, you have our hotline number. You also have our website. I've also included the Department of Justice RECA hotline number and their website. There are some very helpful resources there, so that if you get lost at any point in time, you can contact either of those numbers. But then all of these different institutions will be certainly happy to help provide those documents. All right. I'm going to pass this off now.
Okay, thank you. We're going to get through some more providers of information. Behind you, there will be a mic stand, and we will save time for Q&A. And then I'm going to reserve, because of our space, if you have a question that can help a large portion of people in the room, we're going to try to work on that. If you have a question that's a very one-off, that's where one of us will wait here after to answer. But what happened the last meeting is we went through the Q&A, and most of them were helpful to everyone. Somebody else will have that question too. So now, one of the things, not only thank you so much for being here, and I'm so thankful to the senator for creating your position. I'm sure you are too. She's very great. One of the things she said that was so important, and I think everyone really needs to really take a moment to appreciate this. Everybody in this program wants you to be successful. And I mean everyone, every elected official in this room, the senator's staff. This senator, I have seen him have passion for this. When I was in the Capitol, again, State Rep Tricia Byrnes. So if you need this, we'll make sure that this is also on my Facebook page. I had a congressman come in and I'd say, hey, Congressman, I need to talk to you about, and he goes, I just want you to know, Senator Hawley is more passionate about this than I've seen any senator on any issue in my entire career. Would you not agree? Yes. So yes, everybody wants you to be successful. So we're going to switch this over to the library's information. Did you have some stuff? Okay, so while you're setting that up, I want to acknowledge some of the people that came in that are standing against the wall. Denise Brock, can you please stand up? Has anybody, by a show of hands, ever watched a documentary, Safe Side of the Fence? Okay, if you have not seen Safe Side of the Fence, it does a great job explaining, by Director Tony West, how this went from St. Louis all through North County and then came out to St. Charles County. I also have Kristen. She has worked fearlessly. We've been to DC numerous times, and I just wanted to acknowledge them. And are we ready?
Tell the video that we're going to pause, and I'm going to start a second video because we had a little bit of.
Okay, so I was asked to tell the video. We're going to pause, and I suppose we're going to have a part 2.
Yes.
So stay tuned at the same YouTube channel for part 2.
Thank you.
Okay. She's Dr. Mullenpaw.